Dividing a hive is a common practice in beekeeping that allows beekeepers to expand their number of hives, prevent swarming, and promote the health and productivity of existing colonies. This process involves separating a mother hive into 2 or more independent units, each with its own queen and bee population. Here is a detailed guide on how to divide a hive effectively and safely. The moment to make the cores is very variable and depends on many factors. In general, all beekeepers think about how to make bee nukes in spring, or perhaps at the end of winter, so that the nukes have time to develop and become colonies capable of surviving the following winter. It is not advisable to force the hives that are going to divide. Cores should only be taken when they have enough population and their strength is increasing. A hive that is not well prepared will suffer and weaken when brood comb and bees are removed. If you are going to work with unfertilized queens, it is essential to wait until there are drones in the hives. Without their presence, the fertilization of the queens will be unsuccessful. If the field does not provide enough food, the nuclei will have problems developing, and it will be mandatory to feed them for them to survive. It is important to make nuclei when the field is already in a position to provide a large amount of pollen and nectar. Once you have decided on the time to make your hive divisions, it is time to choose which ones you are going to use to make those nuclei. It is important that you know that not all hives will work and that, in many cases, it will be better if you do not divide them. The key is to locate the best hives in your apiary. They may be those that you have selected as having the best genetics and best bee behavior, or simply those that are stronger and have more and better resources. In any case, avoid making nuclei from weak hives, because you will only aggravate their condition and surely delay or prevent their recovery. Choose the most appropriate method to make bee nuclei. Blind core. It is the most traditional method, but it is not the most recommended. It involves extracting from a hive or more than one, honeycombs with bees and brood of all ages, but especially larvae less than 3 days old. This small nucleus will generally be made up of 2 brood combs and 1 or 2 food combs, plus the bees. And it does not have a queen. That is why it is called a blind or orphan nucleus. The bees will generate a queen from the recent brood. It is an easy method, but it requires a long time until the queen develops, is born, is fertilized and begins to lay. Furthermore, it is necessary to find the queen to ensure that the nucleus is truly orphaned. This working method is also used in directed natural swarming. Nuclei without the need to search for the queen, also called nurse hunting. A more interesting alternative is the method of making nuclei without having to search for the queen. To do this, brood combs are taken and the bees are swept. The combs are placed in a super which, in turn, is placed over the brood chamber, separated by a queen excluder. In a few hours, the workers will cover those combs, which will be ready to be transferred to a nucleus holder with the assurance that the queen stays in the hive. Fan nuclei. Another widely used method is that of fan nuclei. To do this, you take a very strong hive and divide its contents into 4 or 5 core holders. The donor hive is moved aside and in its place the core holders are placed, distributed in a fan. In this way, the foraging bees that return to the hive are distributed among the new colonies. In these cases, the nuclei created can be blind or made from real ones found in the original hive. Triple division. This method is very interesting and is designed to generate 3 nuclei from a single hive. It requires locating the queen, but otherwise it is very interesting for the number of colonies to increase rapidly. Single frame cores. Sometimes the resources available in the hives and in the field are few, or the campaign is already very advanced and the nuclei are made with the following season in mind, so it is not necessary for them to be large. In these situations, you can work with nuclei from a single breeding frame. They are easy to make and surprisingly effective in developing. Other methods. In addition to these methods, there are many others. For example, the one with the 3 smells. You can also make supernuclei, and if you don't have much knowledge, split the hives in a more traditional way. A hive can be split in the same place where it is, separating its population into 2. And there are also methods to make nuclei without changing apiaries, leaving them in the same apiary, something very useful when there is no other location to take the nuclei to. Another video from Beekeeping Without Borders, together with beekeepers from around the world.